I was in an arranged marriage with a younger alpha. On our first day, he warned me not to even think about robbing the cradle. I don't sweat the small stuff with kids who mouth off, so I naturally accepted his distance. But later on, the question of who was robbing whose cradle got turned on its head. Preston, don't forget what you said at the beginning. Said what? He shot back, suddenly sweeping me up into his arms and staring up at me. That my favorite thing is a little insubordination. I was startled for a second, caught off guard as he lifted me. I shot Preston an annoyed look. Put me down. No, why should I? Is it a crime to hold someone I like? He had a point, I guess, but I still felt it was inappropriate. This is not very dignified. Preston's gaze dropped to my lips. He swallowed hard, his voice growing husky. Who needs dignity? All I want is you, Professor Leo. I quickly blocked the mouth he was leaning in with, and couldn't help but laugh. You're saying all the right things now. Not calling me an old fossil anymore? Preston's face flushed red, then went pale. The full spectrum of colors played across his face. He hung his head, burying his face against my stomach, his voice muffled. Don't bring that up. Just as we were talking, his phone rang. Preston frowned but didn't let go of me. I patted his shoulder. Stop messing around. Go answer your phone. Preston reluctantly set me down and took the call. A moment later, he walked over and said his friends were asking him to come out. I waved him off and he rushed out the door. About 2 hours passed before a message from an unknown number popped up on my phone. It was a picture and a line of text. Mr. Brooke, Preston's old flame is back. Are you still planning on taking what isn't yours? The taunt was so dramatic and childish that I wasn't the least bit offended. Instead, I clicked on the photo to get a better look. In the picture, Preston was grinning from ear to ear at a very pretty young woman. Another message came through from the same number. Preston likes young, beautiful omegas. You're old and you're a beta. Don't waste such a great catch, you know? It was so juvenile it was almost cute. Unbothered, I put my phone down and went back to work. The sender must have realized I didn't care, because they started spamming me with messages. Hey, Mr. Brooke, leaving me on read? Is your confidence taking a hit? You're not getting any younger, so stop stirring up trouble. Preston's still so young, you can't really let him waste his life on you. This is just a friendly warning. You're not so old and senile you can't read this, are you? Sigh. Young people are always so fixated on these things. Realizing this person wasn't going to stop until I replied, I opened the chat box. Thank you for letting me know. Out of habit, I added a smiley face and sent it. The other person finally went silent. What I didn't know, however, was that my perfectly reasonable reply had sent a certain young man into a complete meltdown. When Kyle received my message, he nearly jumped out of his skin. Seriously, what does Leo mean by this? Is he making fun of me? His partner in crime leaned over. Keep it down, don't let Preston hear you. Kyle shoved his phone in his friend's face. The smiley face on the screen looked almost goofy. Look, what's he trying to say? He's being so polite, and the smiley face is even blushing. If he's not being passive-aggressive, then is he trying to flirt with me? His friend rolled his eyes, completely speechless. Kyle, have you lost your mind? No, but isn't Leo known for having a thing for younger guys? Don't tell me he's got his eye on me now. You're insane. After replying to the message, I found myself unusually unable to focus on work. Instead, I started thinking about my relationship with Preston. The fact that Preston and I were living together was a complete accident of fate. His parents wanted it and my parents wanted it. The two families hit it off, and the matter was settled without either of us having a say. The Grants were thrilled to have found a good mentor who could guide and look after their son. My parents were thrilled I finally had a partner and they wouldn't have to worry about me dying alone at home with no one to find me. Honestly, I was happy too. The alliance between our families brought considerable benefits, helping my company reach the next level. But, of course, nothing in life is ever perfect. We were all happy, but Preston was not. The first time I visited his home with my parents, we walked in on Preston throwing a tantrum. Why the hell do I have to go live with that old fossil Leo? Am I getting a tutor or a damn babysitter? I don't care, someone else can go. I'm not doing it. This kid. His words really had a bite. I calmed my obviously irritated parents and knocked politely on the door. The door opened to reveal Preston, his face still flushed with anger. I kept my expression neutral and asked politely, "Hello, is Mr. Grant home? Who are you?" "I'm Leo Brooke." The young alpha froze for a second and reflexively cursed under his breath. Then, he stammered and stepped aside to let us in. "Please come in." "Thank you." Maybe it was the embarrassment of being caught talking smack, but Preston didn't say another word during the entire meeting between our families. After that day, I didn't finalize the arrangement right away. Instead, I asked to meet with Preston first. As the coffee and fruit tea were served, Preston looked impatient. "What do you want? If you have something to say, just say it. Do you want to live with me?" That was the good thing about talking to young people. There was no need to beat around the bush because they might not get it even if you did. Preston snorted. "Does it matter what I want? Who cares what I think?" "I do." I looked at him seriously. "That's why I'm asking you. If you really don't want this, I'll explain it to our parents." Preston finally dropped his rebellious act and sat up straight. "Oh, really? But won't that cause trouble for you?" He was a good kid, after all. I smiled, stood up, and patted him on the head. "It's okay. I'm older than you. I should take on a little more responsibility." But in the end, we still ended up living together. Preston's parents had found out from somewhere that he was deeply infatuated with a young woman from a much less prominent family. That was the last straw. They refused to let Preston continue acting so willfully, and this indirectly led to the conflict between Preston and me. On our first night living together, Preston stood at the bedroom door, clutching a blanket and glaring at me. "Liar. I never should have trusted you. I'm telling you, you can forget about robbing the cradle, not in this lifetime." Knowing that nothing I said would convince him, I wearily walked into the bedroom and closed the door. "Okay, got it." But I still felt a little guilty. I opened the door again and added, as a courtesy, "Do you need a pillow? I don't think the guest room has any." "I don't need it." "Okay. Then be careful not to get a stiff neck. Good night." After that day, Preston always stared at me with a wary expression, as if he was constantly on guard against me pouncing on him. I found it amusing and sometimes couldn't resist teasing him. To be honest, I've never been a fan of tough love parenting. So, in my interactions with Preston, I always maintained a gentle, tolerant, and respectful attitude. But just as I was finally getting him to talk to me properly and even smile, he came home with a red handprint on his face. My heart clenched. "What happened? Who did this to you?" I reached out to touch his face, but he flinched away as if he'd been shocked. "Don't touch me." Then he went into his room and locked the door. Soon, a piercing ringtone filled the air, followed by the sound of something crashing to the floor. Knowing it wasn't good to let him stew in his anger, I knocked gently on his door. "Preston, can you give me a chance to say one thing? I know you don't want to talk right now. If it's okay, I'll use my key to come in. If it's not okay, can you just throw something else toward the door?" I waited for a moment. Hearing no sound from inside, I immediately unlocked the door and went in. Preston was already lying on the bed, his back to me, completely still even after I entered. I had only taken a few steps toward the bed when the phone, which had been thrown into a corner, rang again. The caller ID read, "The old man." I picked up the phone, glanced at Preston, and walked out onto the balcony. "Preston, I'm telling you, if you dare see that Omega one more time, I won't just send him abroad. I'll make sure he can't even finish school, and you can get the hell out and live on the streets." "Mr. Grant, this is Leo." The person on the other end choked for a second, then their tone softened slightly. "Leo, where's that little bastard Preston? Put him on the phone. Is he trying to dodge his responsibilities again?" "No, I took his phone." "Mr. Grant, I've been thinking, and I don't think I can continue to mentor Preston anymore." "Why? Did that little brat do something stupid again? I swear I'm going to kill him this time." "It's not that. It's because Preston is already an excellent young man. I don't think he needs my guidance anymore." "Excellent?" He snorted, his disbelief obvious. "If he's so excellent, Why does he defy his mother and me to hang out with that little social climber? He doesn't listen at all. How can you call that excellent? I'm serious. You've raised Preston to be a loyal, sincere, and passionate young man. That in itself is excellent. All I can teach him now is how to pick himself up after he falls and how to take responsibility for his own choices. I think the best thing we can do is give him the courage to make mistakes. Don't you think? The other end fell silent. After a long pause, he sighed. That kid. He's been a handful since he was little. Only someone with your patience could find a way to praise him. Fine, I'm done trying to control him. I'll leave his education entirely to you. Okay, don't worry. Leave him to me. After hanging up, I went back to Preston's room. He was still lying with his back to me. The room was dark. Was this a safe haven or a cage for a trapped animal? I sat on the edge of his bed and gently stroked his hair. You've been through a lot. You must be tired. Preston didn't reply, just buried his face deeper into the pillow. I tucked the blanket around him and spoke softly. I've kept dinner warm for you. If you get hungry, you can go eat any time. With that, I got up, left the room, and closed the door behind me. I knew if I didn't leave then, Preston would be furious that I heard his sobs, which were growing louder. Kids of any age have the right to cry. At least they do with me. My mind drifted to 1,000 different things, and I ended up staying in the living room until late, unable to sleep. When Preston came downstairs, I was still tapping away at my keyboard. I glanced up. It was 2 in the morning. I closed my laptop, went to the kitchen, and quickly reheated the food. When I came out, Preston was already sitting obediently at the dining table. I placed the food in front of him, but he didn't immediately pick up his chopsticks. You're not going to yell at me for eating this late? For making a fuss? I chuckled. Why would I yell at you? Is that such a big deal? Around here, the only thing you'd get yelled at for is complaining that the chef's cooking is too healthy. Then you'd definitely be called a knucklehead. Anything else, it doesn't matter. Oh wait, there is one other thing I'd definitely yell at you for. What? Preston looked up at me. If you don't finish everything in that bowl, I will absolutely call you a heartless little brat. I said it while staring seriously into his eyes. The next second, we both broke into laughter at the same time. Who are you looking down on? I'll definitely finish it all. Patted his head again, satisfied. Oh really? Well then, our little Preston is pretty amazing. Preston practically buried his face in his bowl, but I could still see the tips of his ears turn bright red. He really is cute. When he's eating, when he's hiding behind a door to eavesdrop on my phone calls, and when he's tiptoeing downstairs trying not to make a sound. After he finished eating, I noticed the mark on his face hadn't faded completely, so I pulled him over to the sofa to put some ointment on it. As I was applying it, I muttered to myself, they really didn't hold back. That must have hurt. I was just talking to myself, but to my surprise, Preston answered. Yeah, it hurt. My heart immediately softened, and my tone became almost like I was coddling a child. It's okay. We'll put some medicine on it, blow on it a little, and it'll be all better. Preston's sad face finally broke into a smile. Seriously, I'm not a little kid anymore. He said that, but I clearly saw a single tear fall from the corner of his eye. I gently wiped it away. They say the most vulnerable a person can be isn't when they're naked, but in the moment they let the first tear fall in front of someone else. In this moment, he was completely open. In this moment, my heart felt a strange flutter. I was supposed to be mentoring Preston, but in reality, I was insanely busy. Besides my regular work, there were all sorts of banquets and dinner parties. Sometimes, standing in a vast ballroom, surrounded by countless CEOs, new money types, or celebrities, I'd still feel utterly alone, like I was standing in a slightly larger cage. One day, to help Preston expand his social circle, I brought him to an evening gala. The moment we arrived, we were mobbed from all sides. I introduced Preston to person after person, networking and maintaining a polite smile on my face. Halfway through the party, I felt like my face was going to freeze from smiling so much. Suddenly, Preston announced in a loud voice, "Hold on, I have to go to the bathroom." The people surrounding us were stunned, and they awkwardly cleared a path. Then Preston grabbed my hand. You're coming with me. I was stunned, too, as he pulled me through the crowd. Halfway there, I realized something was wrong. Aren't you going to the bathroom? This isn't the way. Preston turned around and put a finger to his lips. Shoo, be quiet. I'm busting you out of here. Huh? With that, he started running, dragging me by the hand all the way to the car. It wasn't until we were a good distance from the ballroom that he finally asked me, "Where do you want to go?" I shook my head, still in a daze. "Then I'll decide." He floored it, and we didn't stop until we reached the coast. Only then did I remember to ask, "Why did you bring me out here?" Preston looked back at me, the wind messing up his hair. "Because you weren't happy. Was I not?" "Yeah." "That pained smile of yours was hard to look at. But I hadn't even finished introducing you to everyone." I complained, a little frustrated. Preston just laughed cheekily. "I don't want to meet anyone. I just want you to be happy." "You're crazy. Seriously." I muttered under my breath, but I was already relaxing and enjoying the sea breeze. Preston found a spot to sit and patted the sand next to him. "Come on, sit over here. We've got 2 hours until sunrise." I sat down next to him on the sand, listening to the wind. Between the gala and the drive here, it was already 3 in the morning. I wasn't as young as Preston. I was dead tired. Without thinking, my head started to lean toward his shoulder. After a short nap, Preston gently woke me. "Leo, the sun's coming up." I didn't move from his shoulder, just opened my eyes. No matter how many times I've seen it, a sunrise is always as stunningly beautiful as the first time. "Leo, happy birthday." I turned my head in surprise. Preston was smiling. "What? Did you forget your own birthday?" I hadn't celebrated my birthday in years. "Every year you just get a year older. What's there to celebrate? Congratulations on adding another fulfilling year to your life." I thought about it. It really had been a full year. The way he said it made it feel like life wasn't fading away, but becoming richer. I leaned my head back on Preston's shoulder and smiled. "Too. Well then, I guess I'll congratulate myself too." "Hey, Professor Leo, shouldn't you be thanking me right now? What's this congratulating yourself stuff?" "TSK, Preston, don't be so obvious about what you want. Okay? Humph. Humph." I mimicked him and huffed back. Then we both started laughing like a couple of idiots. My 30th birthday. It was actually pretty great. This feeling of rebellion I hadn't felt in ages, and this feeling of being with Preston. It was pretty great, too. My thoughts returned to the present, and I recalled Preston's out-of-character behavior earlier. Yesterday, for some reason, he had a whim and came to pick me up from my office. As it happened, an old friend I hadn't seen much since he got married also came to my office to see me. When you see a good friend after a long time, a hug is a natural thing. But Preston just had to get mad, standing next to me and glaring at my friend. In the end, I had to practically drag him back to the car. As we left, I had to apologize to my friend. "I promised my little brother at home we'd go out for dinner today. Let's catch up another time. Okay?" When we got home, he was all over me, clinging and trying to hug me, forcing me to remind him, "Preston, don't forget what you said at the beginning." But that just seemed to fire him up more. He lifted me into his arms, his words taking on a different tone. Said what? That my favorite thing is a little insubordination. If his friend hadn't called him away, I was genuinely afraid he would have made good on his word. Insubordination? This crazy kid. I rubbed the spot on my waist where he had gripped me, a little exasperated. "Youth, it's really something." When Preston came back, he had Kyle with him. He shoved the guy's head down as he walked him over to me. "Hey, apologize." Now, I was completely confused and instinctively tried to stop Preston's rough behavior. "What's going on?" "Preston, let him go first." Preston spat in Kyle's direction, looking pretty pissed off. "This is the little brat who sent you those ridiculous messages today. He's lucky I didn't beat him up." The person being held down looked up, grimacing and still muttering defiantly. "I just told a little truth, what's the big deal?" Preston immediately raised his leg to kick him, but I stopped him. Kyle cleverly jumped back and looked at me reluctantly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Brooke." I chuckled and shook my head, finding the two of them amusing. It's fine. It was just a few messages. Preston wasn't having it. He yelled at me. What do you mean, just a few messages? He was trying to drive a wedge between us. I avoided the charged topic and instead pulled Preston down to sit on the sofa, placing the back of my hand on his cheek. Have you been drinking a bit too much? Your face is burning up. You sit tight. I'll go make you some soup to sober you up. You'll feel awful tomorrow otherwise. Preston nuzzled against my hand, a look of pure satisfaction on his face. Okay, thanks, Professor Leo. Turning around, I saw Kyle still standing there, looking lonely, a bit resentful, but mostly just pitiful. So I pulled him over, too. You sit for a bit, too. Have some soup before you go back. He was clearly surprised and sat down dazedly next to Preston. As I brought out the soup, I heard Preston scolding Kyle. I'm telling you, my husband is a good person. That's why he's not holding a grudge. If you ever pull that crap again, I swear we're done, you hear me? I set down the bowls and gave Preston a light tap on the head. That's enough. What's this my husband talk? As if it's real. Preston lifted his chin, defiant. It'll be real sooner or later, you'll see. There's no point arguing with a drunk. I didn't say any more and just motioned for them to drink their soup. After they finished, I got up to see Kyle out. You have a driver, right? Be careful on the way. I stood at the gate, wrapped in a shawl, seeing him off. Just as he was about to get in the car, he stopped, hesitated for a moment, and walked back to me. I'm sorry. This time, I mean it. I was taken aback for a second, then smiled and patted his head. It's okay. It's good that you can admit when you're wrong. After successfully seeing Kyle off, I headed back inside. I had just stepped in, before I could even take off my shoes, when Preston pinned me against the door. You touched him just now. Why? I just patted his head. What's wrong? What's wrong? What gives him the right to have you touch his head? I'm your student. Only I get to have my head patted by you. And that old guy today, what gives him the right to hug you? He was getting agitated, and I had to place my hands on his chest to keep from suffocating from our proximity. Preston, pats on the head and hugs aren't privileges reserved for students. Didn't you know that? Sensing my resistance, Preston backed up slightly. The irrationality in his eyes slowly faded. You mean, the way you're nice to me, you can be that nice to anyone? Of course. Didn't I teach you? Don't mistake kindness for affection, or you'll be the only one who gets hurt in the end. He frowned, looking like he still couldn't understand. When people can't figure things out, they tend to get busy with random things. That's what Preston was doing now, running his hands through his hair one moment, digging his nails into his palm the next. I stood there, watching him with something close to heartache. Young people always get caught up in these things. It's both cute and pitiful. After a moment, Preston cupped my face again. Hey, just pretend I didn't say or ask anything tonight. Okay? I won't get jealous for no reason anymore. Can we go back to how we were before? I looked at him with affection and played along. If you can fool yourself, then of course we can. The color drained from Preston's face, and he covered his ears. I can fool myself. I took his hand and spoke softly. You're really drunk. Let's get you to bed. Okay? He followed me obediently, lay down obediently, but as I was tucking him in, he mumbled an accusation. You have a cruel heart. I smiled but didn't reply. Sleep. Good night. Indifference. Inattention. Non-response. It was the best way I could think of to retreat. When Preston woke up the next day, there was an unnaturalness in the way he looked at me. It seemed he hadn't managed to fool himself about last night. I pretended not to notice and called him over. Sit down and have some breakfast. Are you feeling unwell anywhere? He remained silent, sitting down with a heavy heart. I personally ladled some porridge and handed it to him. Have some porridge. It'll make you feel better. He stared at the porridge for a while, then pushed it away, as if he'd made up his mind about something. If you're not only this nice to me, then don't do these things. Was he throwing a tantrum? I reached out and took the bowl back, my tone regretful. All right then, I guess this last bowl of porridge is all for me. He watched wistfully as the bowl was taken away, then lowered his gaze, looking both wronged and trying to act tough. I almost burst out laughing. I got up, handed the porridge back to him, and ruffled his hair for good measure. All right, stop sulking. Be a good boy and drink your porridge. If you don't like me getting physical with other people, I'll try my best to change. The person who was just looking miserable a moment ago immediately brightened up, trying to suppress the upward curve of his lips. Really? MHM, of course. We're going to be living together for quite a while, so naturally we need to understand and tolerate each other. Clang. The moment the words left my mouth, Preston slammed his spoon down. You're only saying you'll change so we can get along in the future? Yes. Why? Preston clenched his fists and stood up. Leo, are you playing with me? I put on an innocent, clueless expression and looked at him. You are playing with me. Just because I'm young, you're deliberately messing with me, making my emotions go up and down like I'm some kind of idiot. You know perfectly well that I know what? Preston suddenly clammed up, staring at me with a resentful glare. I tried to say something to soothe him, but he didn't give me a chance. He turned and stormed out of the house. Left alone, I felt a headache coming on for the first time. Damn it, I went too far. I really pissed off the puppy. With the idea of buying a little dessert from the shop downstairs from my office to appease Preston, I clocked out on time for once. But the moment I got to the company entrance, I couldn't help but sigh. Looks like there's no chance of making up with Preston today, because my old friend, the one I had just seen yesterday, was standing right at my office door. Leo, you're off work so early today. I was just about to text you. I smiled and walked toward my friend. What a coincidence. Yeah, looks like we're still on the same wavelength. Get in the car. We sat in a private room at a restaurant, and he ordered with practiced ease. He was still the same, able to recite my favorite dishes from memory. On a whim, I suddenly asked, does this place have any good desserts? Henry looked at me, a little surprised. Sometimes. But don't you dislike sweets, Leo? The kid at home likes them. Henry's expression immediately turned cold. Oh, is that so? Then let's add a dessert. The waiter asked, which one, sir? Whatever. Perhaps realizing his tone was too cold, Henry quickly put on a caring facade and looked at me. He doesn't have any allergies or particular favorites, right? Then I'll just let them make whatever. I smiled and nodded in agreement. Henry finally let out a breath, a smile returning to his face. The kid at home, you mean the one from yesterday? I nodded, subconsciously pulling out my phone to see if there were any messages from Preston. Looks like he was really mad. Not a single message all day. Henry continued. Leo, I honestly thought you'd never get this close to anyone again. Why did you think that? I replied casually, my mind actually wondering if I should take the initiative and text Preston. Because I pursued you for so long back then, and you never agreed. A friend I couldn't even get close to is suddenly being approached by someone else. I have to admit, it makes me a little uncomfortable. I finally looked up at him, but it was impossible to tell if his eyes were serious or joking. I sighed inwardly. Right. I definitely prefer talking to easy-to-read young people like Preston rather than sitting here trying to decipher the thoughts of a slick operator like this. I was young then and took love very seriously. Now that I'm older, I naturally see things differently. So why don't you get a little closer to me? I chuckled, raising my teacup to take a sip and hide the sarcastic curl of my lips. Aren't you already married? It's not appropriate. I'm divorced. She was too young, I couldn't stand it. It's better to be with you. Less worry, and it's mutually beneficial. I looked at him, saying nothing. The person who once pursued only the sweetness of love was now capable of saying such things. Not wanting to engage with Henry's line of conversation, I felt a wave of irritation and planned to just deflect and move on. Just then, my phone chimed, saving me. Where are you? The contact name, Preston. Seeing his name, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Having dinner. What's up? With who? That was a tricky question. I paused for a moment to think. Henry saw his chance and chimed in. Who is it, Leo? The kid from home. Ha! Henry let out a short, derisive laugh. his polite social mask now completely gone. I pretended not to hear and focused on replying to Preston. With a friend. The one from yesterday. It was a statement, not a question. Any attempt to fudge the truth at this point would just be a weak excuse, so I admitted it directly. Yeah, it's him. Wanna come join us? I even ordered your favorite dessert. I was planning on bringing it back for you. He was silent for a moment before replying. Okay, I'm next door. I'll be right over. He was nearby just as I suspected. Good thing I didn't try to lie to him or he probably would have just stormed in. Henry, the kid from my place is coming over in a bit. You don't mind, do you? Leo, today Before Henry could refuse, the door slammed open. Such a barbaric way to open a door. It obviously wasn't the waiter. I gave Henry an apologetic smile. Sorry, Henry. He's young and impulsive. Please bear with him. Henry forced a smile as Preston, who had been so agitated just a moment ago, quietly sat down next to me. At the entire table, I seemed to be the only one who was remotely at ease. We finished the meal in near silence. I got up to wash my hands in the restroom. On my way back, I heard Henry's slightly angry voice coming from the crack in the door, which wasn't fully closed. What makes you think you can win against me? I stopped in my tracks and frowned. If I didn't want to completely burn my bridges with Henry, now was not a good time to go in. Because I'm young, because I love him, and because I'd do anything for him. Preston's reply came from inside, and I couldn't help but facepalm. Confidence is good in a young man, but their lack of experience and composure makes their weaknesses painfully obvious. Sure enough, Henry let out a soft sneer, his disdain for Preston palpable. The young will one day grow old, and love will fade. And as for doing anything for him, do you think he needs that? Preston, Leo is 7 years older than you. Long before you came along, countless people have gone through fire and water for him, been crazy about him. Some people were even willing to drop everything in their lives to stay by his side just because of a single word from him, and he still said no. Do you really think you're qualified or capable enough to get Leo to play another game of love with you? Don't be ridiculous, kid. You'll never be his first, and you'll never be his only one. Every word Henry said was a gem of truth, and it was exactly what I wanted to say to Preston myself. It went quiet inside, and I couldn't help but resent Henry for being so blunt. Preston was young, and his parents usually didn't have time to pay him much attention. Hearing such harsh words would probably crush him. I sighed, preparing to push the door open. Whether we could still be friends was another matter. But I had worked so hard to get Preston to a more stable place, and I couldn't let all that effort go to waste. Just as my hand touched the handle, Preston's voice came through. You're right, I can't be his first, but I will be his last and his only one. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. The simple words, spoken one by one, carried an indescribable intensity, a touch of madness. Now I really had a headache. Was he serious? My hand slowly retracted from the handle, hesitating. Mr. Brooke? Just as I was debating whether to go in, a cheerful voice sounded behind me. I jumped, almost losing my composed expression. Kyle peeked out from behind me with a grin. Sorry, did I scare you? I shook my head with a small smile. His eyes, however, subtly scanned me up and down. Are you having dinner here too, Mr. Brooke? MHM. Oh, me too. I came with Preston. That kid dragged us all out here to welcome his old flame who just got back in the country. But then he suddenly disappeared somewhere. His explanation was pointed. I knew he hadn't given up on trying to split me and Preston up. What was with these young guys? Each one was more calculating than the last. I massaged my temples wearily, but I didn't expect him to take a step closer. Mr. Brooke, Preston's heart belongs to someone else. He's really not a good choice. But I'm different. I'm young too, but I have no scandals and I'm very obedient. I looked at him in surprise, finally understanding his intentions. Seeing that I didn't object, Kyle boldly grabbed my sleeve. Can't you choose me, Leo? For the first time in a long while, the word save me floated through my mind. Everything was a mess. The two inside were at each other's throats, and this one outside had his own agenda. Was the trend this year men approaching middle age like me? it was just too absurd. Kyle, what are you doing? A voice like an angel's song rang out as Preston appeared at the doorway of the private room. Kyle didn't let go. In fact, he gripped my sleeve tighter. Preston, I remember you said you didn't like Mr. Brooke. Since you don't want him, I'll take your place. I don't have an old flame, I won't call off a marriage, and I would never say such rude things to Leo. I'm a better fit to stand by his side than you are. Preston's eyebrows shot up, looking like he was barely holding back a storm of anger. His fists clenched, and he strode over to my side. The second before his fist could connect with Kyle's face, I finally reached out and stopped him. Preston, stop it. Let's go home. Preston continued to glare daggers at Kyle, who glared back just as fiercely. And Henry was leaning against the doorway, watching the whole farce with a cold smile. Preston, I'm not saying it a third time. Home. Preston finally stopped being rooted to the spot and wrapped an arm around my waist, leading me out. And I, out of some strange sense of guilt, allowed his intimacy. Maybe, from the very beginning, I never should have approached him with such a playful attitude. Who would have thought I'd be dealing with this kind of situation at 30? In the car, Preston stubbornly stared out the window, refusing to look at me. I looked at our hands, so close on the seat between us, and after a long hesitation, I covered his with mine. Are you still angry? The moment my hand touched his, I felt him stiffen. Quickly, he turned and buried his face in the crook of my neck. What right do I have to be angry? Leo, I realize today that I don't even have the right to be angry at you. I stroked his hair to comfort him, but I couldn't find any words. I was just as confused about our relationship as he was. Seeing that I wasn't responding, Preston lifted his head and stared at me. As he stared, he got closer and closer. If I can't have you, then I'll just belong to you. I'll be your dog. I'll put on the leash myself and hand it to you, and I'll spend the rest of my life just circling around you. Okay? Without warning, he kissed me, and I, filled with a complex mix of guilt and indulgence, kissed him back. Thank goodness I'd raised the partition when we got in the car. In this suffocating atmosphere, only the two of us knew how overwhelming it all was. He wiped away the strand of saliva between our lips, and in the next second, a tear fell from his eye. I like you so much. Why? He asked through his tears, either to himself or to me. I knew why. It was because he was like an unfinished love letter that had been thrown in the trash. The sender had created him but had never treated him with care. But if someone was willing to pick him up, patiently smooth out his crumpled pages, and carefully read his blurred words of affection, only then would they receive the innate, boundless love he had to give. But what I said to him was, because you haven't met anyone better yet. When you do, you won't feel this way anymore. Okay, I admit it. Maybe in some unguarded moment or maybe on my birthday, I really did fall for Preston. But I know that it's easy to fall for someone in your 20s. He's still young. He has so many choices he hasn't tried, so much love he has yet to give. So I don't dare to gamble the rest of my life with Preston on something as flimsy as love. I'm scared. I admit it. But Preston wiped away his tears and looked at me, saying each word clearly. You are the best. I guarantee it. I looked at him, speechless, having seen the pragmatism and false pleasantries of my peers, and now faced with this kind of sincere, open affection. No matter how much I tried to lie to myself, my racing heart wouldn't be fooled by my brain. An adult of any age has the right to fall in love. At least that's how I see it. I never expected that my well-intentioned advice would not only fail to dissuade Preston but would instead ignite an boundless competitive spirit in him. After that day, every time our eyes met, his were filled with a restless, eager energy. And from that day on, he became ridiculously clingy. Forget people like Kyle. Even Henry couldn't get within a foot of me under Preston's watchful eye. To put it bluntly, he was like a possessive, ever stronger guard dog protecting its food, getting worked up over the smallest things. The result of him constantly being by my side was that at a dinner party once, a friend looked at Preston with a smile and remarked to me, "That kid Preston, you can tell at a glance that you raised him." I looked over at Preston, who had already developed a certain air of calm maturity, And I smiled too, with an unconscious hint of pride. He's starting to look the part on the outside. But you don't know, deep down he's still a total kid. My friend's smile widened at my words, and he looked at me with a teasing expression. Leo, looks like the old house is finally catching fire. I shook my head helplessly and said nothing, taking a sip of my wine. What are you guys talking about? Preston walked over to my side and expertly took the wine glass from my hand. Why are you drinking again? Why can't he drink? Leo, since when are you living under your husband's thumb? My friend took the opportunity to tease me. Preston's expression was serious as he answered earnestly. He's been having stomach issues lately. He can't drink. Ooh, I thought you two lovebirds were trying to get pregnant or something, not even being able to have a drink. My friend drew out his words, joking with us. Preston's face flushed red, and a hint of his youthful shyness peeked through. It had been a long time since I'd seen this cute side of him. I couldn't help but join my friend in teasing him. What's this about getting pregnant? I'm not a girl. Oh, speaking of which, did you know our little Preston used to be a girls-only kind of guy? He even had an old flame. Before I could finish, Preston tugged on my sleeve, leaning his face close to stop me from continuing. I didn't. I told you that was just something I made up to rebel against my parents. His childishness made me laugh, but then my friend's next words caught me off guard. Speaking of old flames, Leo, I heard recently that your first love is in town. You know, the foreigner, the one who dropped everything to follow you here. Do you remember? You once cried to me, saying he was the one that got away. I remembered, but was this really the right time and place to bring it up in front of Preston, my friend? I didn't dare turn to look at Preston's expression. Instead, I shot my friend a resentful look that screamed, "You've really done it now." My friend just grinned and mouthed something at me. It's fine. A little jealousy is good for a relationship. You're welcome. A little jealousy might be good for a relationship, but the key thing is, ever since that dramatic showdown, Preston had been fixated on this kind of thing. Too much jealousy is not a good thing. On the way home, Preston reverted to his old habit, staring out the window, not at me. This time, it was my turn to cautiously tug on his sleeve. Are you angry again? He immediately snatched his sleeve away and didn't answer. I patiently tried again to take his hand. Don't be mad. We have no relationship and no contact anymore. Then why is he here? Maybe he's just here on vacation? A vacation to the exact place where you had such a dramatic love affair. Preston snatched his hand away again, his whole body screaming 3 words. Don't touch me. I pretended to go along with him. You're right. Why would he come here of all places? Maybe I should give him a call and ask? I made a show of taking out my phone to dial, but Preston snatched it away. You're lying. You said you didn't have his contact info anymore. He was finally facing me. I cupped his face and kissed the corner of his lips. I wasn't lying. I was just teasing you about calling him. It's your fault for not looking at me. He was no longer the same Preston who would get dizzy from a little kindness. Even though his expression had softened, he still wouldn't fully give in. Leo, you're always playing with my feelings. It's not fair. Not fair again? So, do you want this unfair person to give you another kiss? Yes. Preston leaned his face closer but didn't initiate the kiss. I complied with his expectation and kissed his cheek. After that, he turned his other cheek to me. This side too. I smiled and kissed it. For no reason, my friend's words popped into my head. The old house is catching fire. If an old house catching fire means an older person falling in love, then I'm afraid this old house of mine has already burned to ashes. I sighed, lamenting that in the end, I couldn't escape becoming a cliché. Preston heard my sigh and actually kissed me back. Why are you sighing? Is it not enough that I'm not angry anymore? Don't be like that. Don't lose patience with me. I tickled his chin and answered softly. I haven't lost patience with you. You're so cute. How could I ever be impatient with you? Preston hugged me, a man a size bigger than me clinging to my body. Really? But I'm still scared, because you can so easily pull my heart up and down. But I can't even get you to say you like me. You can always see right through my attempts to test you, but I don't even know if you've ever had feelings for me. Leo, Sometimes I even wonder if you're this nice to other people when I'm not looking. An insecure puppy, whining and circling in place, desperate for a definitive sign of approval. I won't. I won't lose patience. And I won't be as nice to anyone else as I am to you. Why? Because my kindness to you has long since become a privilege reserved for my lover. Preston's eyes lit up instantly. What? What did you say I am to you? Can you say it again? He looked like a puppy begging its owner to retell the story of how it was chosen out of all the other puppies. I said, I'm only this nice to my lover. Before I could finish, Preston eagerly leaned in and kissed me. You said it. No takebacks. Leo, you're never getting rid of me now. Why would I want to get rid of you? After all, I've been consciously, knowingly indulging this for so long. Haven't I? Extra. Preston, I've never been a good person. I know that. I say hurtful things and act outrageously. I'm used to everything revolving around me. My parents have had countless headaches because of my temper. When they wanted me to meet some rich girl, I'd say I liked girls from ordinary families. When they wanted to send me to study with someone, I'd call that person an old fossil. But I always used my youth as an excuse with no intention of changing. Stubborn, reckless, childish, impulsive. I lived in a world where everyone had to walk on eggshells around me. Until Leo showed up. The first time we met, he caught me talking trash about him. But to be honest, I didn't feel any guilt at that moment. I just thought, this man looks so fragile, like one harsh word could break him. So, I unconsciously stopped saying those things, and I didn't argue when my parents talked about our families getting closer. If I hurt his feelings, I wouldn't be able to handle it. But later, I inevitably dived headfirst into the gentle sea that is Leo. And for the first time, I learned what the word fear meant. He cared for me, protected me, indulged me, spoiled me, and even comforted me. But I didn't know if he had been or was currently this nice to other people. And who was he with when he developed such a good personality? I didn't know. What could I do to become his one and only? I didn't know that either. Henry was right. Everything I could do for Leo, someone else had already done for him 7 years ago. But I still wasn't willing to give up. He said he cared about me. He said I could be his lover. Even though I was dizzy with emotion, sensitive and insecure, I would never let go, even if I had to be his dog.